Hello grade 8, so we are going to discuss the remaining topic that we have for the second grading. That's how typhoons develop. Paano ba nabubuo or namumuo ang bagyo? But before we move to the highlight of this lesson, let's first review the important concepts that will help you understand the weather conditions and how typhoon is formed. So, during your elementary days, I'm sure that you have already studied about clouds. Isa yan sa mga unang lessons in science. The names of the different types of clouds. You've also heard about the different weather instruments. So, let's try to discuss it again and make a more meaningful prediction or weather prediction out of it. So, as we all know, grade 8, weather is the daily changes in the atmosphere or in the atmospheric conditions. Meanwhile, climate is the long-term average temperature of a place. Now, sometimes we can actually predict what's going to happen with the weather when we look at the clouds. Nephology, Nepphology, is actually the study of clouds in the field of meteorology. So, what is the weather going to be like today? Ano ba ang gagawin ko? Ako ba'y magsusuot ng panlamig? Magdadala ba ako ng payong? All those things, it can actually be predicted once you look at the clouds. O baka sabihin nyo, I cannot see the clouds, ma'am. But you can ask someone, of course, to describe it for you. So, let's try to describe each characteristic of clouds. And then, let's predict kung ano bang weather ang mapoproduce because of that sky condition. The first one, when the sky will be is described as clear pero parang may hibla-hibla ng cloud. These are called cirrus clouds, 'di ba? So cirrus clouds are very thin like clouds that can be few or many. So if there are only few cirrus clouds or parang merong thin feathery clouds in the sky at konti lang, then we can say that it will have fair weather. Ibig sabihin maganda yung panahon kapag ganun yung itsura ng cloud, pag thin at saka feathery. But pag ang description naman sa inyo thin and feathery pero ang dami niya sa sky para sinakop niya yung buong ulap ng mga maninipis na clouds. So, that is a sign of approaching weather front. When we say weather front, if you remember, we've already discussed the interaction between hot air and cold air. So, that's the evidence that hot air and cold air is actually interacting with each other. So that's what you call weather front. Okay? So if it's being described to you that the clouds are thin and feathery pero marami siya in the sky, that is an approaching weather front. Next, what if cumulus clouds are being described to you? So when we say cumulus clouds, these are really bright white, fluffy clouds in the sky. So parang buo yung ulap, buo, and maputi. 'Di ba? So kapag gano'n ang itsura ng clouds, those are called cumulus clouds. So this symbolizes a fair weather. So magkakaroon ng magandang panahon if the clouds look like this. Pero meron naman tayong tinatawag na cirrocumulus clouds. Pinagsama itong cirrus clouds at cumulus clouds. Anong itsura ng cirrocumulus clouds? Kung yung kanina, parang fluffy, na isang buo siya, at saka puting-puti siya, this time, parang buo-buo siya, pero parang manipis, hindi siya fluffy. It's thin, but it's clumped together. So, yun ang itsura ng cirrocumulus clouds. Kapag ganun daw yung clouds, yung parang manipis na parang cotton balls. Sige, sabihin na natin, kung yung cumulus clouds ay parang isang buong bulak na pinagsama-sama, yung cirrocumulus clouds parang cotton balls na hiwa-hiwalay, tapos maninipis siya. So, that will predict, or that symbolizes an afternoon rain shower. Uulan daw sa hapon kapag ganon ang clouds. Next, how about naman pag walang clouds? Very clear ang sky. Kapag very clear naman daw ang sky, the weather will be most likely fair and walang ulan kasi wala ngang ulap na makita. The next is what we call stratocumulus clouds. So, pinaghalo itong stratus at saka cumulus clouds. Now, stratocumulus clouds are fluffy clouds, pero kung kanina yung cumulus clouds ay very bright white, it may appear grayish, dark, pero fluffy pa rin siya. And the most prominent description about stratocumulus clouds is they are low-lying, parang ang baba. So, parang pag sinabi sa'yo, pag dinescribe sa inyo na parang baba ng ulap ngayon, that will show that most likely magkakaroon ng ulan in 24 hours. So, baka the next day ay magkaroon ng ulan. Very, very likely. If the clouds are low-lying, mababa, fluffy but it's gray, yun ang tinatawag na stratocumulus clouds. Now, last one, paano naman kung ang itim talaga ng ulap? Those clouds are called Nimbus Clouds, and alam nyo na, you will expect heavy rain, heavy because the clouds are dark and heavy, so you can expect rain. So, those characteristics of clouds that can be described to you, yung mga nakikita natin sa sky, fortunately, it can predict what the weather will be like. So, alam natin, magdadala ba ako ng payong? Ay, hindi ako magdadala ng payong. So, just hope na magaling mag-describe yung magde-describe sa inyo, no? Pero yun. O, diba? Pwede kayong maging meteorologist. When we say meteorology, this is the study of weather. O, yung taong nagsastudy naman doon, or scientist that studies about weather is called a meteorologist. O, maaring yung cited, i-describe pa sa inyo. Tapos kayo pa mag-interpret ng meaning ng clouds na yon. So, that will be a very good skill na ating matututunan. Now, for your question number 1, listen to the first question. You asked your friend to describe how the sky looks like today. Tinanong mo daw yung friend mo how the sky will look like today. Your friend tells you that the clouds look full but seem to be low-lying. Parang buo siya, but it's low-lying, pero ang baba niya. What will be your weather prediction? So, that's question number 1. I want you to write it in a piece of paper or send me a personal message to answer this question. So, this video has 5 questions. Yun po ang question number 1. Next, what are the different weather instruments naman that meteorologists use to monitor the weather? Now, data from these instruments are collected daily to help establish what the weather pattern would be like. The first one, we have anemometer. The spelling is A-N-E-M-O-M-E-T-E-R. So, it looks like several cups that catches the wind. So that pag natamaan ng hangin yung cup, kung gaano kabilis yung pag-rotate nung hangin, that will be determined by the anemometer. Because anemometer measures the speed of the wind. Okay? So, siya yung nag-describe or nagde-determine kung gaano ba kabilis yung paggalaw ng hangin. Next, we have the wind vane, which shows the direction of the wind. So, kung saan naka-point, kung sa north, east, west, or south, then that will be the direction of the wind. That is called wind vane. W-I-N-D-V-A-N-E. Next, we have thermometer. We all know about thermometer. It measures the air temperature. In the Philippines, we use degrees Celsius. Next, we have what we call rain gauge. Spelling is rain and then G-A-U-G-E. Rain gauge measures the amount or level of rain that will be collected over a period of time. So, for example, in 1 hour, how many rain will be collected by this rain gauge? Ang itsura po ng rain gauge ay parang cup na may measurement kung gaano nakataas yung liquid na maiipon. The last one is what we call barometer. B-A-R-O-M-E-T-E-R. It measures the air pressure. Kung gaano ba kalakas yung bonding ng air molecule sa hangin. So that's air pressure. It is measured by your barometer. So we have 5 weather instruments. The anemometer, which measures the speed. The wind vane, which shows the direction. Thermometer, which measures the air temperature. The rain gauge, which measures the amount of rainwater collected. And then the barometer, which measures the air pressure. Question number 2. List 3 examples of weather instruments and their functions. 3 lang out of 5 that we mentioned. Give 3 examples of weather instruments and their functions. That's question number 2. Now, we finally proceed to how a typhoon develops. Now, we often hear the terms hurricane, typhoon, cyclones, tropical cyclones. What are the differences of these? Actually, the term hurricane and typhoon, they are the same. They are both classified as cyclones. Pareho silang cyclone. Pero, nakadepende lamang sa lugar. It's based on their location. If it is over the northeast Pacific Ocean, and that includes yung America, Canada, Mexico, Atlantic Ocean, kapag doon nabuo ang bagyo, ang tawag ay hurricane. Pero, if it is formed on the Northwest Pacific Ocean or over the Northwest Pacific Ocean, kung saan nandoon ang Pilipinas at many countries in Asia, ang tawag doon ay typhoon. Again, if it's in the Northeast Pacific side, that's hurricane. And if it's in the Northwest Pacific side, we call it typhoon. Pero both, scientifically, they should be called tropical cyclones. Now, tropical cyclones are formed ideally under the temperature of 27 degrees Celsius. Namumuo daw ang bagyo in at least a temperature of 27 degrees Celsius. Question number 3. Why is a cyclone in the Philippines called a typhoon? Why is a cyclone in the Philippines called a typhoon? Bakit daw typhoon ang tawag sa cyclone sa Philippines? Now, paano ba namumuo ang bagyo? the very first requirement, ang pinakaunang requirement para mabuo ang bagyo is warm and moist air. Kailangan mainit at humid ang ating kapaligiran or ang ating hangin. So, the temperature of water ideal for evaporation is 27 degrees Celsius. So, mag-evaporate yung water, magmo-moisten yung hangin, and that will form clouds. So, mag-evaporate, and then mamumuo yung mga water droplets sa air, aakyat, aangat, mabubuo yung clouds sa taas. Just like in the water cycle. So, that's what you call condensation. So, magkakaroon ng cloud formation. So, as it continues habang umiinit, the water keeps on evaporating. So, lahat ng hot air, kilala nyo naman si hot air, no? Gusto laging nasa taas. Masyado na siyang mataas. Now, yung cold air will rush o magmamadali na parang, uy, punuan naman natin tong baba. Kasi, panay akyat ng water molecules. Kailangan, meron ding bumababa. So, your cold air will go down. So, what happens? There will be a difference in air pressure. Kasi, because of too much heat, nag-evaporate. May umaangat na water. Tapos, kailangan mapunuan din yung space na pinag-angatan ng water. So, ng water molecule. So, bababa yung cold air. Tapos, kasabay nun, may nagre-rise na or nag-evaporate na water droplets. So, that forms a cycle. Diba? Para nagkakaroon ng spiral movement between the hot and cold air. So, that's the difference in atmospheric pressure. So, ang nangyayari, it will continue on happening until lumaki ng lumaki yung difference between the hot air and cold air. That's why typhoon will develop. Kaya, usually, typhoons will be described as paikot, spiral, no? Na parang may butas sa gitna. But yung butas na yun, or yung tinatawag nating eye of the storm, walang bagyo dun. Yung eye wall, yung nasa paligid niya, andun yung malakas na hangin at ang pag-ulan. But the most important thing there is, the most important condition for typhoon to develop is warm and moist air. Kailangan mainit at moist yung hangin. So, question number 4, what is the ideal temperature for a typhoon to happen? What is the ideal temperature for a typhoon to happen? And question number 5, can you list 3 steps in the formation of a typhoon? List 3 steps ayon sa inyong pagkakaintindi in the formation of a typhoon. Now, pag-asa po ang hindi PHIVOX, pag-asa ang agency that monitors the weather conditions in our country. When we say pag-asa, dapat alam nyo na, Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration. So, they established a rain code system and and yung warning signals, the public storm warning signals in the Philippines to describe and to make people aware kung ano ba yung condition today. So, sometimes we hear sa news, meron silang tinatawag na yellow rainfall, orange rainfall, red rainfall. So, between those 3, ang pinakamataas ay, syempre meron tayong tinatawag na light and moderate. So, wala tayong kailangan gawin dun kasi ambon-ambon lang yun. But, malakas na ulan, heavy rainfall is the yellow sign or yellow code. Intense rainfall is orange code. Red rainfall is really torrential rainfall. Talagang malakas na pagbagyo at kailangan ng mag-evacuate. We also have public storm warning signals. Before, hanggang signal number 4 lang But now, it's until signal number 5. So, public signal number 1, the difference of this is yung bilis ng pag-ikot ng hangin per hour. Okay? At yung gaano mo sila katagal bago inaasahan. So, yung signal number 1, pwedeng within the span of 36 hours, matagal bago mamuo. Public signal storm signal number 2, 24 hours, 3:18, 4:12, and 5:12 hours. So, nasa module nyo po iyan. Okay? Yun. So, that's it. Your exercise, so though you have questions number 1 to 5, please answer it until February 4. So, if you haven't listened to the video, then you cannot answer the questions. Thank you, grade 8.